Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about a clipper that's going to turn into maybe a very hefty nor'easter. We're talking 2 feet snow totals, but we'll get into that later. We're going to start off here with both the GFS and the European models, simulated radars. Then we're going to go into snow totals. So here's the GFS, which is the least accurate of the two models, but we're going to show it first because this is the latest model run of the two. So we do have a offshore low that's going to be pulling in the cold air. So we usually talk about this 1-2 punch in terms of nor'easters. One storm system that pulls in the cold air, the other that takes advantage of that. So here's the storm that's pulling in the cold air. Here's the storm that's going to take advantage of that. So the cold air gets pulled in. We have a clipper system that's coming down from Alberta, the Alberta Express, and creating some pretty heavy snow already a pretty strong storm, but it dips all the way into the south, starts to pull up some Gulf moisture, and then we see the snow go all the way as far south as Georgia, South Carolina, Mississippi. You can see that we have plenty of cold air in place, plenty of snow already falling, and then this low pressure starts to move up the coastline, jumps out into, the coastal areas, not actually onto the Atlantic. But then you start to see a nor'easter here, and the rapid intensification of this, 1,000 millibars here, and then we go one day into the future, and you're at 980. So about a 20 millibar pressure drop, so not bombing out, but very, very close. And you can see heavy snowfall rates in areas such as New York City, areas of inland New York and Pennsylvania, southern New England, but eventually most of those coastal areas will switch over to rain and then back into snow. That will hinder snowfall totals just a little bit. So for once, the European model is very similar. So the European model also has that offshore low pulling in the cold air. You have this clipper system, Alberta Express, coming down into the nation, and we see that start to dump snowfall in the south. This time, areas such as Georgia are getting hammered with heavy snow straight up from the Gulf, and that cold air stretching all the way down to the coastline of the Gulf in Louisiana. Then we see the snow start to take off from there, and this storm ends up impacting areas more inland as well. Areas like Boston, New York, Philly, Baltimore, not really getting a lot of snow. DC could see a little bit of snow since you are far enough inland for this low pressure not to really bother that as much. But most of the coastal areas will be switching over to rain. Even areas like southern New England will switch over as well. But eventually some areas will switch back to snow as well. So let's take a look at snowfall totals. So this is the GFS. The GFS already has a foot of snow plus coming down in the northern plains, as well as close to 6 inches in areas such as the Twin Cities. Then you come down into areas of the southeast, where you have the mountains in North Carolina and Virginia getting over a foot. West Virginia and areas could see up to 2 feet. Then you move into the northeast, which is where most of the discrepancy is. The GFS has most of the heavy snowfall falling further west, areas such as Buffalo, Erie, Watertown, New York, instead of the European model, which is further east, where you can see Albany, Burlington, Vermont, Concord, New Hampshire, as well as areas such as Scranton, getting the heavier snowfall instead of further west. You can see here, if we compare those cities, Scranton getting about 8 inches, Albany getting about 13, but not as much as some of the areas back here. Burlington getting about 10, Concord getting about 9, compared to the European model, where you don't have Buffalo getting nearly as much, 3 inches, Erie getting 4, Watertown getting 9. So it's just that east-west shift. Both these storms have been shifting east and west a lot. So basically, same setup as always. The further east the storm goes, the more the coast will tap into some of that snowfall. The further west it goes, the further inland that snow will go. So what do you think this storm is going to do? Drop in the comments your predicted snowfall total for New York City. and we'll compare and see who's right in the end. We'll model wars plus some friendly competition in the comments. But that's all I have for today. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell. That's all for today. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.